Today I'm going to break down exactly how you can save your first $50,000 to get your financial future started. These 6 steps can quite literally change not only your life, but your family's life as well. Saving is something we know we all should be doing, but Americans aren't saving at nearly the rate to secure a financial future. Today I will give you all you need to start creating a financially responsible future, but it's going to be up to you to do it. If you're new to my channel, my name is Tyler. I've been doing real estate for the last 11 years and participated in over $200 million in deals. I now invest in long-term real estate assets to build sustainable wealth for the future. Step 1 is to start with the end first. In order to accomplish almost anything in life, you need to know where you want to go and where you want to end up. This is no different than with your finances. In fact, the main reason I think that people don't reach their financial goals is because they don't have tangible ones and specific ones. Saying I want to be rich or I want to be debt-free is really not a tangible goal. Saying that I want to save $50,000 in the next 2 years is a specific and tangible goal. So let's break it down. In order to save $50,000 in 2 years, that's $25,000 per year, $2,083 per month, $480 per week, $68.49 a day, or $2.85 an hour. Now that may seem overwhelming at first, but you need a specific plan and a specific goal in order to get to where you want to be. Breaking things down into small, digestible steps will make it a lot easier and a lot more tangible for you to actually hit your goals. Start with the end first, reverse engineer it, and then figure out steps to get there. Number 2 is you have to choose to change. Becoming financially responsible is generally not something that anyone just wakes up one day and starts doing. It's usually something that they've been thinking about for months and months, and for whatever reason, they never committed to actually doing it. People will come up with every excuse in the books. I can't start today because next month is my birthday, and I already have plans to go to Hawaii with my friends. Or the holidays are coming up. I just don't have the budget to save. Or my favorite is that I'm young, and I have plenty of time to figure out money when I make more of it. The sad truth is that not many of us were taught how to be financially responsible from a young age. And because of that, over the years, we have built poor money habits. But it's not too late to change. Being financially responsible just starts with the decision to choose to make smarter money decisions. Put away your excuses and just commit to being who you want to be. Our perception of ourselves massively dictates our own actions. If we tell ourselves that I'm just not dealt the right cards, I'm not smart enough to make more money, or no one in my family is rich, then to be honest, it's going to be really hard to get there. But if you flip the script and you tell yourself, I am financially responsible, I'm working towards building a financially responsible future, and if I'm committed to it in the long term, then I can achieve my financial goals. Whatever it is that I want to accomplish, I first think about what type of person does it actually take to do it. And then I preach that to myself, like I'm already that type of person. So when situations arise, I think, since I am a financially responsible person, I will do this, or I will commit to this habit. It's a different way of thinking that gets rid of your limiting personal beliefs. Step number 3 is to create a budget. This step is really straightforward. You need to know or figure out exactly where every single one of your pennies is going. And nowadays, there are tons of apps that can help you track your expenses and even categorize them for you completely for free. I personally just do it on a spreadsheet because visually it's much easier for me. And having to type in every individual expense for some reason just hits more. For a month, track every single penny and see where your money actually went. This will give you an easy route to understand where you could potentially save, or cut spending, or find cheaper alternatives. Also, having a budget and knowing exactly how much you need will help you when you make more money. In order to avoid lifestyle inflation, you need to have a really good idea of how much your monthly expenses are. This includes food, clothing, shelter, car, gas, debt payments, basically anything you need just to live on this earth. If you know this specific number, this will help you not overspend when you make more money. Step number 4 is where a budget becomes really effective, and that's asserting authority over your budget. Budgets aren't just a tool to see where our money went, but it's a way for us to take control of where our money goes. If you find that you overspent the previous month, the role of a budget is not just to see that you overspent and acknowledge it, but to do something about it and create better spending habits for the future. You do this by taking ownership and directing where your money will go. This includes the crucial step of saving first. A lot of people look at their income and expenses and think to themselves, there's no way that I can actually save money first. But if the government decided to tax you an extra 10 or 15%, you would pay it. So tax yourself. We are willing to pay the government the extra cut because we have to, but we're hesitant to pay ourselves first. Asserting your budget also doesn't mean cutting out things that you actually enjoy, but an option might be to look for cheaper alternatives. Dining out is one of the easiest ways to just burn through money. A recent survey showed that on average, Americans spend $166 per person per month just on dining out. In LA, going out to Korean barbecue will cost you on average about $40 to $60. That's about a third of the cost that the average person spends per month in one meal. So recently I decided just to go to the Asian market, buy the meat, buy the veggies, buy the side dishes, and cook it at home with my friends. And the last few times we've done it, on average, it's costed us about $12 a person. That's approximately 1/4 of the cost to go out and eat it. We are able to get better quality meat and are also not constrained to time on how long we're able to sit at the table. We do have to clean up and deal with the short-term smell of the barbecue throughout the house, so it does take a little bit more work. But we save a significant amount of money, which is what this video is all about. Or it could be as simple as looking at how you spend your free time. If you notice that you are paying for a streaming service and you only consume about 2 hours of content on it per month, it might be worth canceling it. Saving money in these ways seems so obvious because it is, but we often overlook it because it's such a small part of our monthly spend. And we neglect to see how much it's actually costing us on an annual basis and over the years. So after maximizing our budget, we hit a point where we realistically can't cut expenses anymore. So step number 5 is increase your income. It is true that people who switch jobs every couple of years tend to have higher wages over their lifetime. But is looking for a new job really the fastest way to make more money? The job market has softened a lot. Long gone are the days when everyone was looking for remote work and getting 20 to 30% bumps at every single jump. Moving jobs in today's economy is much easier said than done, and employers are valuing loyalty and hard work over new talent. One option could be to start a side hustle, but in my opinion, the fastest way to make more money is to increase your output at your current job. That may mean taking on more hours, pushing for a promotion, or finding ways that you could be more valuable to your company. One of the hardest things to do is find a work-life balance. I believe that it's important to take a break and rest from time to time, but I think we tend to use it as an excuse to be a little bit lazy instead of increasing our output. Most people want more while continuing to do what they've always done, or in some cases even decreasing their output. But hard work is the variable to success, and I think every successful person would agree to that. If you want to take control of your finances and maximize your earning potential, at least in the short term, you need to increase your output. If you make $4,000 a month and are able to pick up an extra $1,000, that's an increase of 25%. By looking at your budget, if you can live off of $3,000 and set aside $2,000, then you can put it towards step 6, investing. Investing is something that seems very complicated, and most people don't start because they don't know where to start. Investing starts with being organized. You have to have a system in place of where your money gets deposited and where it gets invested. Here is just one way to organize it. Say you make $5,000 a month. Your budget includes rent, food, car, debt payments, discretionary spending, and savings. $3,000 of it is allocated to your necessities and your discretionary spending. $500 goes into a savings account, a rainy day fund. And just to keep it simple, $1,500 goes towards buying an S&P 500 ETF. When adjusted for inflation, the S&P 500 on average for the last 20 years has returned 8%. If you stick to this example, it will take you 2.5 years with a monthly contribution of $1,500 per month at an average return of 8%, you will have $49,553.89. Once you've built up your cash reserves, usually about 4 to 6 months of their living expenses, maybe you can bump it up to $2,000 a month. With the same return of 8% annually, it will take you about 2 years to hit that goal. If you extend it to 3 years with the same return metrics, a monthly contribution of $1,250 will get you to $50,270.64. The beauty of having a system and being organized is that you can move the numbers around so that you can actually hit your financial goals. This example doesn't even count that if you become a more sophisticated investor and are able to return more than 8% a year. This whole process starts with discipline. Becoming financially responsible is the difference between choosing to be organized and disciplined. The faster you execute on this, the better your overall financial future will be. If you got value out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one. And remember, the easiest way to predict your future is to create it.